Good evening, everyone. Happy December. It's really great to be here. Welcome to WICBU's in-season series. Really excited to have you tonight. For one reason, that it's holiday time, and so we wanted to give you a gift, and we're bringing in a special guest, my friend Austin Ardrey from Refs Run 2. He's going to present a really important and useful topic to us. Austin and I met this past summer in Los Angeles, California at the NASO Summit, and we had no idea that somehow we would connect in the future with WICBU and Runnin Ref. So Austin, as you're all signing on, really cares about your health and your performance, and some of our members are of all different ages, and so it's really important to stay in shape and maybe even just pick up some tips that might help you avoid injuries and stay on the court. And so Austin, I'm going to hand it over to you. He's going to talk to us about unlocking on-court performance. We're really excited to have you. This is something different for WICBU. Before Austin gets started, I'd just like to encourage everyone to listen carefully. And if you have questions, we'd really like you to ask them when Austin's done. You can either put them in the chat or you can unmute, depending on how many of us are still left. So Austin, the floor is yours, and just thank you. And we really appreciate having you here tonight.
Yeah, awesome. Well, I'm very grateful to be here as well. Give me 1 second. Let me share my screen. We'll make sure that everything's looking good here. All right, can everybody see it? Are we good, Carrie?
It looks great.
Okay. All right. Well, I think that we all know that officials have been ignored for too long. I think that we know that officials do not get the respect that you should on the court. Just so we are clear, I am not an official. I have officiated one 7-on-7 football game, and that was more or less because the two officials that I met previously when I moved to Dallas, they said, "Hey, you're running this awesome program, but you need to get in the stripes and see what we see." So here we are today, a year and a half later, and I want to talk to you a little bit about, just in-game performance, how you can reduce your injuries, things that keep you off the sidelines. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started here. So I wanted to start this off a little bit lighter. So 2 years ago, I moved to Dallas, Texas, after being a college strength and conditioning coach. And I met two college football officials that were local. And the two things that they asked me to teach them was to help them run better so that they could reduce injuries. And they also told me, "Hey, you're never allowed to yell at an official again." So when we started working together in person, I started to figure out all of the needs and the nuances of an official, because being on the sidelines of college football games, I never understood, what officials did really. Like, you don't watch them, you don't pay attention, you're watching the football, right? So that's where it started 2 years later. I hope that everybody can run as fast as Forrest Gump by the time we are done here tonight. But if not, maybe like Carrie said, you take a couple of tricks away to help, just elongate your career. All right, so super quick. I do not like talking about myself that much, but I'm the CEO of Runnin Ref. I was a college strength coach for a better part of 10 years. I worked at a lot of cool universities, a lot of experiences with speed development programs, year-round return to play programs, a lot of meetings with doctors, physical therapists. I just had a lot of really cool experiences, and Runnin Ref came about, and I just wanted to be able to share these events with you and share some of these things with you, because now we've developed a year-round training program that's very specific to each official sport. So we have programs for soccer, basketball, and American football, and obviously tonight we're talking about on-court stuff. So officials, like we mentioned, officials are often forgotten about. I always say, now the deeper and deeper I get in this, officials are athletes. You have to be able to cut, you have to be able to stop, start, change directions. And now basketball specifically, as I'm watching, as the season has really caught on here, it's a lot of sprint, stop, start, sprint, stop, start. You watch some of the officials from other sports and their actions are a little bit different, or they do a lot of jogging and they get to sit and stand for a bit. But Basketball officials, it's a very, very fast-paced game, and obviously the court's smaller than a soccer field or a football field. So, officials really are athletes, and I'm seeing that more and more and more. To my knowledge, there's been no direct training that's been catered to officials. So I do think that, some of the things that we talk about tonight are even more important for you in that aspect, because you have to understand that you have to be prepared for what you're going to what's going to happen in the game, right? If I'm just jogging on the treadmill or I'm going to cycling classes, not to say that they may not be good for general fitness, but they're not preparing you for the sudden impacts and the explosive actions that you have to do on the court. So the other biggest thing is when officials talk to me just about tips or tricks, or I get phone calls, is, hey, we have no time to warm up. We have no space to warm up. So, there'll be a couple of videos and the back end of this, which will show you some stuff that you can do in place, some locker room stuff that you can take with you, and just make close the gap basically from doing nothing and being sedentary to full speed running, cutting, stopping, and starting. Okay, so first off, we started to get into this. I had to break down what the demands are of an official. So the first one is availability. If I'm hurt, my assigner or supervisor is not going to be able to put me into a game. They're not going to be able to give me, games to go and officiate. So one of the biggest things is just being available, and that goes for players too. You see guys in the NFL, the NBA all the time. They're on injured reserve. Well, they're no good anymore, and that affects the rest of their career. So reducing the injury risk is a big deal. I'll click now. The next thing for an official is athleticism, and obviously we just touched on officials being athletes. So officials have to be in the right spot at the right time to make a call. And Carrie and I were just speaking, obviously, before this started, and we were just talking about the fact that yes, the players stay the same age. They're 18 to 22 years old, and obviously in the professional leagues, they get a little bit older than that. But all officials, the longer you officiate, you're just getting a year older and a year older. So it's really, really important to be able to stay athletic and to move well. I'm not asking anybody to be Usain Bolt here by any means, but to be able to move well and efficiently and to get into the right spot is critical for you as an official. And once again, I just don't think that there's been anything that really shows you, hey, these are important actions for me to be good at. And then one of the biggest things that I continue to hear a lot is the look, right? The professional look of an official. You have fans in the stands or players, and it's being able to look the part as well. So that's obviously a multifactorial from a lot of different reasons. Some guys want to look like big bodybuilders. Well, that may or may not be conducive either. But looking the part, being physically fit and in shape carries a lot of weight for you as an official. So as we kind of move through this a little bit, some of the most common injuries among officials. Also, I have recently started posting, and I've shared it with Carrie too, a feedback questionnaire for officials. And, one of the things that we're asking them is to continue giving us more data in some of the injuries that you may incur over the season or people on your crew may incur. I hope that all of you in here today have a very healthy season. And I hope that you don't reach out to me and be like, hey, my hamstring is killing me. Can you help in any way? But these are the three categories that we've gotten the most data. Now, it would be nice to be able to get with some collegiate, professional youth organizations and associations and try to find a way to collect more data into this. But lo and behold, these are the ones, you hear every year about a hamstring. If you change directions a lot in a game, the groins, hips, those kind of get intertwined for people and they lead to some other things. But then the lower leg, the calves, the feet, the ankles, just kind of put that all into one. Okay, so the biggest one and the scariest one here would be the Achilles. All right, so the Achilles is one of the most injured areas of the lower leg. So this graphic on the right side, not to take everybody back to anatomy class, I'm sure you did not want an anatomy lesson tonight, but the Achilles obviously is the lower part, and the other two calf muscles tie into it, and it has a major function for you. The Achilles is actually the strongest tendon in your body, and it is also one that really helps you with running speeds. Okay, so everybody thinks the hips, the quads, the hamstrings, those are important. The entire body is important, but the Achilles is really your springboard into being explosive and being able to stop and start. Okay, so
Hey, Austin, I got a quick question for you.
yes,
I'm really sorry. So the slides, it seems to be a little frozen on us.
Uh-oh, which one are we stuck on?
So we're looking at your
The
Canva.
first one.
Yeah, first one.
Oh, you're still on the first one?
Yeah.
What? Well, that's a little bit of an issue. You didn't even see Forrest Gump running?
What we're seeing is the presenter view. We're not seeing display, we're seeing your presenter view.
And then just
Well,
click on the slide down below. There we go.
where are we
Thanks,
at now?
everybody.
Yep.
So you didn't see any of these?
No.
Well, I'm sure you don't want to listen to me talk, but at least let's get a little bit of humor out of Forrest Gump at least, right? Y'all didn't see that?
No.
We all saw the movie.
Okay, well, you saw the movie. That's classic, right? Okay, well, maybe some of these things are, you putting some of it together. I have no idea why that froze, so I apologize for that. Here, you get a couple pictures and a couple slides here to look at. Nothing super fancy. Here's what we kind of talked about the previous one, the demands of an official. All right, back to these three. Obviously now you can see them, okay? We're talking about the lower leg, the groin, the hamstring injuries. Now we're good, right? We're on the Achilles slide.
Yes.
Okay, cool. So kind of picking up from where we left off. So Achilles injuries can go a lot of different ways. I'm working with a couple basketball officials. Basketball is the sport that I see. I'm getting the most feedback with Achilles tendonitis. Now there's a lot of basketball officials that are reaching out talking about patella or knee pain. But the Achilles tendonitis is holding the token right now. With that being said, Achilles ruptures are another injury that can be in there, as well as calf strains. Okay, so as we kind of bucket that entire lower leg area, as we're talking about, this potentially could be a debilitating injury. Typically, Achilles issues start at sudden impact. Okay, so when I either stop on a dime and have to absorb the force of all the speed I've created on the ground, or when I take off from a sprint, that's where you see a lot of them. Now, there's not a ton of videos out on YouTube of officials doing this, thank goodness, right? But you do see athletes. I mean, if you watch the video of Kevin Durant, or there's some football players that, you know, it's been out in the news, obviously, because they're big time players, but it's when they're starting from a standstill and they take off and burst. So that impact, that Achilles tendon has to be able to not only be reflexive or, you know, coordinated, but it has to be very, very strong and stable too. So this is a problem area because, so think about it in this sense. So you officiate a game and your calves are super tight and super tender. They get really, really sore from just the volume of the game, right? The quick pace of going up and down the court over and over and over. Well, what happens there is I get tense and tight muscles and they're inflamed, okay? Well, if I cannot recover well and I can't take some of that blood out of the area and push it around, now it's got to go somewhere, right? So it's either got to go up the chain to the knee, which doesn't happen quite as often, or it goes down into the feet and you get some swelling and you start to get into some other issues from that standpoint. The Achilles is not typically the issue, but it happens to be the site where it just kind of explodes on you, okay? So that is not meant to be a scare tactic, but that is realistically what happens if we can't recover the tissues and the muscles in that area and kind of restore form and, you know, get the feeling better before our next bout on the court. All right, did we switch slides?
Yes.
Okay, wonderful. All right, so some of the common causes of some of these injuries, you know, on the left side, kind of just putting up the things when I meet with officials or chat with officials, or we do a lot of in-person training sessions in Dallas. We do about 1 to 2 a month, depending on the time of year, with any local officials allowed to come. So if any of you happen to be in Dallas ever, you know, reach out to me, please. We would love to have you just come and join us. We usually go eat Texas barbecue after for lunch. You know, some of the big things that we hear is, you know, why do I need to stretch, or I don't stretch? Okay, well, a proper warm-up kind of hits all the necessary spots for what lies ahead. So I like to call them target spots, right? If I know I'm going to be doing a lot of straight ahead sprinting, my glutes, my hip flexors, my calves, my hamstrings need a lot of work. Now, if I'm an official that moves laterally a lot, I need to address my hips a little bit more at that point. So those are some of the things that I would start to think about as you know, as we're going on through this tonight, and you kind of put into your head about your particular warm up and what you may do to get prepared. Okay. The next thing would be poor running technique. So this definitely recovery is the big hot topic, right? For the last couple of years, it's the hot button. Everybody needs to say, oh, recovery, recovery, recovery. Okay, movement mechanics matter. And that's why this is important to me, because without poor running, with poor running technique, I'm just setting myself up for failure. I'm setting myself up for not only a longer stride pattern, which honestly wears me out. It's just not very efficient, but also my limbs are not able to be put in the right place at the right time. So now I'm putting stress and strain on tissues and ligaments and structures that shouldn't be getting all of that at one time, right? Your body should work in a synchronized fashion, and it should all work together. So Runnin ref, obviously that was kind of one of the bases of, what we're doing is teaching good and proper running mechanics, because officials either do two things. You're either starting or you're standing up and you're running at full speed. So over and over and over, those mechanics matter. Or, it's the always I'll start later, or the New Year's resolution, right? It's like, okay, it's December 10th. I'm good. When January 1, 2024 rolls around, I'm getting started. Okay, well, we all know kind of how that is, but then you get closer and closer to the beginning of your season, and time's gone by, you haven't trained consistently enough, so on and so forth. So it's just like anything else. Being consistent in training, on a frequent basis is obviously going to lend you to, more success in general. All right, so we'll get into some problem solving now, right? So this video is just going to go on loop. This was a session from early in the summer, which we did with some local basketball officials in Dallas. I took some videos afterwards to upload into our training program, and for anything of this nature that I could showcase some of the stuff in place. So as we talked about, the locker room being a issue initially for officials, right? Typically tight spaces, and I know there's even some Facebook groups that show like the terrible setups that y'all have to go into in the very, very small sections. All of this stuff can be done in place. So it is a dynamic stretch. I think everybody in 2023 understands that dynamic stretching is very good for you, pre-exercise. Well, stationary just means that it's in place. So the biggest thing with the warm-up you have to understand is that you're trying to go from zero and sedentary to full speed running. So I don't have a lot of time to work out. I have all these reasons why I can't get on the court and go through a 25-minute warm-up. Okay, I got you. But let's problem solve a little bit, and let's see if we can check a couple of the boxes off and get a little bit closer to that, okay? And once again, I'm hitting some of the target spots here. So stationary to dynamic is one of the main things. It's extremely important at this point, okay? Then I also want to go slow to fast. I don't want to just roll up out of my bed and take off on a sprint, right? You bend over, you touch your toes, you go through a couple stretches, you jog a little bit slower, maybe you do some dynamic movements, then you take off and jog, okay? Well, kind of the same concept, but now on the court, okay? So I can do some of my stationary movements. I can loosen up. You're seeing, a hip exercise right here. So this would be the final piece, the dynamic calf stretch. Then I'm going to get up on my feet, and I actually need to start closer to running full speed, okay? So skipping, jumping, hopping, those type of things would fall into that category of moving faster and faster. And then ultimately, I would suggest before each tip off, an official has to find some space and try to get in a full speed sprint if you can. You don't want to jump out of the locker room and go straight into it. That's you're setting yourself up for disaster at that point. And then the last thing to a proper warm up is we kind of touched on already. It needs to be specific to what lies ahead. Okay, so we've already kind of touched on that. Okay, so here, this is the session that I was telling you about. Officials are athletes. You got to be able to move well, move efficiently. As we already previously talked about, I need to be able to improve my running technique. And that is actually a global concept. Okay, that can just mean even lateral movements, things of all athleticism nature, but to reduce my risk for injury. And you can see from this video, these guys aren't perfect at it, but they're working at it more and more. And every now and then they'll send me some clips and some videos of them on their own. And I'm like, man, you're looking sharp, you're looking good. And that's what I want. I want them to be able to move better and better and better. And that's a pretty clean right there. I mean, I think you can find space to do high knees anywhere on the court, probably. Correct me if I'm wrong. But, the next thing we touched on also was, become faster and more efficient to keep up with the players. Well, what if you could give yourself a little bit of an edge and get a little bit faster, right? So a good example of this would be in track and field, right? There's multiple heats. I want to run my fastest time in my last heat, right? In the finals. I don't want to run my fastest time in the prelims and then I'm gassed. Well, if I'm the fastest guy there and I can run 100 meters in 10 flat, I can coast through the prelims a little bit, if you will, at, 10-5, 10-6, a little bit slower pace. I've saved all of this energy, so now I can utilize it there. So the benefits of you being faster and maybe improving your speed a little bit just makes you more efficient, and it makes your pace throughout the game a little bit easier of getting to the right spot. And then the big thing is being able to keep your eyes level. I think in any sport, when running full speed, you don't want your eyes bouncing up and down. You can't see the play at any point. And that goes for, the athletes on the court and on the field too. If I'm a center fielder in baseball and my eyes are bouncing around, I'm not going to be able to chase down a ball in the outfield. So being able to be under control and to do all of these things, I think really makes the difference for you. Okay. And then we, talk about referee specific conditioning, as we kind of hit on right at the start here, was that, CrossFit doesn't necessarily prepare me to go officiate a basketball game. Orange Theory doesn't necessarily prepare me to change directions maybe 50 to 100 times within a basketball game, right? So I think that your conditioning and your sessions have to at some point become specific to, the basketball game. And that means the rest times as well. So not only, once again, I know the decreased injury rates is being highlighted, but, I can't touch on it enough, the importance of you to be able to stay healthy and the longevity of a career, but also just in being able to enjoy officiating. I mean, how much more enjoyable would it be for you to go through, a month, 2 month, 3 month stretch where you're just completely healthy instead of, a nagging calf that you're doctoring up at halftime and, rubbing all this ointment on, whenever you can. So the specifics of that will prepare you for what you have to do on the court. Mimicking on-court movements, that kind of goes without saying, right? Long, slow jogs, maybe even on an incline. If I live in, some of these different hilly parts of the country and areas that, the court's flat. So at some point I've got to get on the court and I've got to do some of the same movements that I will encounter on game day. And then the speed of the game is a big thing, in my opinion. So we do a lot of repeat sprints. In collegiate athletics, it's becoming more and more of a thing. Is most of the sports nowadays, we understand that speed is a big requirement. Okay, well, if the speed of the game is picking up, the speed of the officials has to keep up with that too. So the rest time in between bouts of action are much shorter than, maybe different styles of plays, right, in every sport from the past. So the time in between rest when you're going through some of these conditioning sessions is very, very important too. So when you get to game day, it's just a breeze. It's like boom, boom, boom. Okay, my heart rate can slow back down at a much quicker rate because I'm used to doing some of these things. So I truly believe in referee specific conditioning. That's a little bit different for every sport, the actions, the distances, the total volume, but that's something else that I would like to get a little bit of data on. And, Carrie, Sherry, I don't know if y'all have anything to that, but I would love to see at every level in basketball, and I mean high school, collegiate, and then even into the NBA, we could figure out a way to get some of that data. Hopefully in the future would be how many times does an official actually, on average, get up and down the court? How many times do they actually stop and start? So I know that may be way off in the future, but from my vantage point, that's something that I'm extremely interested in and finding out is trying to prepare officials better and better for what they're going to encounter. I think that would be something really, really cool to understand. And I think that it would save a lot of officials, a lot of major and minor injuries as well. So anyway, Carrie, I know that was probably right about the time frame that we kind of talked about, and we were going to open it up to any officials that may have some questions. On the bottom here, I put it for everybody to get on our email list. We send out on Saturdays, so everybody on here is aware. Some free tip sheet or document. We've sent out free like game day pump workouts during football season. We've sent out some active recovery workouts. Some of them have some YouTube links to them where it's like, okay, I don't know how to do X, Y, and Z. I can do it. Sometimes it's just more or less training talk, but it's all applicable. It's free. If you don't like it, you can get off the email list. But I think on Saturdays gives you a lot of value into reading some stuff that's a little bit different. It's not marketing. It's not salesy. It's just hey, I want you to get better. Here's a Google document for you. Take it, run with it, do as you please. So, anywho, if anybody wants to get a hold of me in any other way, I'm pretty easy to get a hold of, but I hope that we have somebody that has at least one question here.
You are easy to get in touch with, Austin. I would agree with that.
Yes.
And you're, always willing to share information. So that sounds great. The Saturday tip sheet is a great idea. Hopefully everybody takes advantage of that. So we do have our first question, and don't be shy, everybody. So do you have any tips on the best way to deal with plantar fasciitis during the season?
I do. So that one's a little bit tougher. Carrie, feel free to chime in on this as well. Plantar fasciitis is a tricky one, obviously. For some people, it's even kind of debilitating depending on your pain tolerance. But I would really suggest a couple simple things, Amanda. So what's kind of gone on in recent research lately is the big toes flexibility. So that's become a bigger thing. So if you can kind of just imagine your big toe, the stiffer I am, the tighter that tendon can get that runs down the arch of my foot. And really, that's what some of the things that I think you should loosen up. So I think if you can do some big toe mobility, I do not have any videos specifically to share with you, but I can get in touch with you and find you some of these. I'm sure you know how to bend your big toe, though. Calf raises are a very, very easy way to do so. I personally also like that tendon, but all over the bottom of my foot, a massage with a golf ball. So put a golf ball on the ground. You don't have to press into it like you're trying to break your bones, but it's just a soft tissue release for the whole surface area that you're working with. But specifically, if I pull my big toe up, that tendon on the bottom of my foot will flex and I can really feel it. I would massage that, and it kind of feel crunchy for some people. That's another way to loosen that up. I would hit my calf muscles because the body is a chain. If it's happening on the bottom of my foot, chances are that's not where it started. It probably started either up above that issue or below it. So I would also do some soft tissue release, massage type of stuff, stretching for my calf muscles. I can send you a video if you would like. I like a softball, or if you go to a gym frequently, the cap of a barbell is extremely hard. If you just lay down on it and press on it, I like those options better than a foam roller, and I say that because of the intensity is just much more. It can kind of really get a little bit deeper than your standard foam roller would. And then the other thing that I would do, I would try to strengthen everything around that ankle joint. So feet, ankles, Achilles, with some specific, like they're called ankle isometrics. All that means is I'm getting strong and I'm not moving. Okay. So I could send you a couple short videos on that would be easier to explain it, but essentially timed calf raise holds in different body positions, if you will. So I hope those couple things help. Carrie, I don't know if you have anything to add to that, but I think all those should help you a little bit.
That's great,
Yeah,
Austin. Okay, now we have another question. And I've seen this on court, and I think in the beginning of an official's career, it can be challenging to figure out stride length and what's a healthy run, but not compromising on hustle. People have to get into position to receive the play, and they have to get ahead of the players, like you were saying. I mean, who's getting younger? It's the players, it's not us. So you mentioned not to use a long stride, but how can we determine what is a correct stride length for running on the court, given our height and other factors?
So so your stride length is called your gait pattern, and I say that not to make anybody feel dumb by any means, but the stride is called your gait pattern. Okay. In a proper gait pattern, limb lengths or leg lengths do matter, but the most important thing to absorb the force and to get on and off the ground appropriately would be two things. So I want to land more so in the middle of my foot than on my toes, not my heels, but that middle third of my foot. When I'm standing tall, running full speed, that will take a lot of that away. But also when you go through drill work and you're being intentional with it, the foot should land almost directly underneath my hip. So if it lands out in front of me, now I'm really getting a lot of hamstring strain right there, but also it'll lead into some other things down the foot, Achilles, things like that. So trying to be intentional with the drills and placing my foot almost directly under my hips it can't quite go directly under, or obviously my foot ends up behind my body, right? But you get what I'm saying. Putting the foot down at the right place at the right time is probably the biggest one there.
That's great. Okay, believe it or not, we have another question. It's a hot topic tonight, Austin. Do you have any tips for dealing with Achilles tendonitis during the season?
I do, Steve. If you would like to reach out to me, I'm running a little pilot program right now with a couple basketball officials. It's just 3 weeks. It's 3 days a week. It won't take you any more than 15 minutes. If you would like to reach out to me, I'll send you this Excel sheet. But basically what it is, it's prep work. So some of the soft tissue work, as we were talking with Amanda about, bottom of the foot, calf, loosening up those structures. Then it goes into a little bit of assisted. So I'll use a band, but if you don't have a band available, I can show you how to do some things just using your hands. But really, they're called pogo hops, but all it is jumps, just using everything from the knee down. So I'm really just targeting foot, ankle, calf, Achilles. They're assisted jumps to kind of absorb the force, but to also put that reflexive nature back into my calf and Achilles. And then once again, as we talked about with Amanda, some of those ISOs, standing calf raise. Now I would load these over the subsequent weeks, but the standing calf raise holds there for time. And then also some front of your shin is called your anterior tib, doing some banded, basically I call them toe flexes to strengthen up the front of your shin too. So kind of those 4 things, if you're able to get in touch with me, it probably makes it make a little bit more sense than me just spitting it, but I wanted you to, at least be able to hear it from me firsthand.
Yeah, I'll do that. Thank you.
Yeah.
That's really great. Now Steve is involved in a big thing, right? Steve, and then you just ask one question. That's
Well,
really
just wait.
great.
A couple weeks later, if he's like, hey man, I'm feeling better, then we did something good, and that's all that matters.
We would love to have an update.
That's right.
So now when you get to a college game, college facility, Sherry is on the call, and Sherry's an athletic trainer. I mean, how can an official, if you're coming in with a minor injury, trying to get through a game, what should the official do to get in touch with the trainer, or just ask for some tips? What is that
Yes.
like?
You're asking me, Karen?
Okay.
Yeah, I've done it many times, not only because I'm an athletic trainer, but yeah, if you need heat, you need ice, you need some cream that you need to put on or whatever, you can always go into the athletic training room. Most athletic trainers are very, very helpful and willing to help. There's been many times where I may have twisted an ankle and had to get my ankle taped, or a lot of officials just want heat, and they'll get heat packs from the athletic trainer, bring them into the locker room and heat before they start their stretch, Austin. And everything that Austin has said is great. And all those stretches that he's giving, you can do those right in the locker room, no matter how small the locker room is, especially the toe raises, the calf raises, stretching out the calves, the plantar fasciitis, stick up, even if it's a tennis ball or a lacrosse ball in your bag, and you can do that right before the game, before you put your shoes and socks on and stuff like that. But yeah, all athletic trainers at every school are more than willing to supply heat and ice and different types of creams for you if you need it.
That's great. I don't know if everybody realizes they can ask these kinds of questions.
Absolutely.
Okay, Austin, we have one more question. Here's a
All
big
right.
one. What about the lower back and sciatica?
And Malcolm made back exclamation or capitalized, so it must be screaming. Malcolm, can you go into any detail, whether that's in the chat or if you pop on here, can you give me a little bit more detail about that? Obviously, sciatica gets a little bit tricky potentially at times, but
how you doing, Austin?
I'm good. How are you?
Yeah,
It doesn't sound great if you're asking a question about your lower back.
I had the 3-person game today at St. John's Prep. It was a good game. I got through it. But like you said, I've been doing the stretching more. I've been seeing difference, but I got like it's kind of like a herniated disc in the lower back. So I'm trying to get through the season with that. Yeah.
Okay. So, I'm going to give you a little bit of a long-winded answer. So, try to stick with me here. I'll see if I can give you the cliff notes and sharpen it up. So, lower back pain, sciatica, mostly is hurting you during the game. So there's a lot of different things here. So most people, when they start to think about their low back, think that it's all flexibility. You might need some spine stability. Okay. So there's some exercises. There's a guy named Stuart McGill, who's the leading back researcher in the world. I took a couple of his courses and learned a lot of really cool things. So there's 3 exercises in particular called the bird dog, a side plank, but it's a modified version where my feet are offset, and an inverted curl up. They're all spine stability exercises, and there's some various other ones that I did mention that you can do on a regular basis. I would do those multiple times a week. I would not put a barbell on my back or deadlift if I'm you personally. I just don't think it's worth it. I think you could get strong in the gym in other ways, keeping weights below your waist. I think if you're talking about soft tissue work, okay, answer this for me. Are you more tight after a game and after sitting for a while than any other time?
Oh yes, I noticed like because I have a bus ride coming up this Friday to North Carolina, and when I
Okay.
sit a long time, it definitely like I could feel it down to my toes, like the nerve.
Uh-oh.
It's crazy.
Okay. So I would also, we kind of talked about some different soft tissue release and places to stretch. I would stretch my hip flexors big time. Okay. So if you think about your pelvis and how it sits, if my hip flexors that are on the front of my body get tight, what they do is they get short. So now the backside of my pelvis kind of dumps over, and now all those muscles and everything on the backside, so on my back, are getting stretched out, and you're setting them up for some failure. So I would really, really target my hip flexors a lot. And the running technique definitely does matter in terms of back pain. I've seen some people with terrible, I'm talking about college football players too, with terrible strides and terrible technique in terms of stride and stride patterns, where the foot just really swings way back behind the body. That's actually kind of like putting your back in a bent position, if you can even imagine that. Sorry, I can't give you a better visual. Putting your back in like a bent position, and you're doing that over and over and over the course of a game. So if you can, without seeing you move, obviously, I don't know where else may some things lie, and maybe there's some general, there's always a potential for general weakness, and I'm not calling you out specifically, but I would look at my hip flexors. I would definitely not put a barbell on my back or keep weights below my waist, but being strong definitely has its value in terms of that. Improving running techniques. And if you could figure out a way, if you shoot me an email, I have video links to those 3. They're not super in depth in teaching you, but I can work with you and I can give you some email descriptions of those. But creating some spine stability would be a big deal too, in my opinion.
That's
Yeah,
great,
thank you.
Austin.
Thank you, Austin.
I know
Sorry, I
Malcolm
know
will
that was
really
a lot.
appreciate it. I know Malcolm pretty well.
Hey,
But
Terry, sorry to interrupt you. I'm gonna send you my email on my phone, and you just text it to Austin. All right?
whatever
My
you need
email.
me to do, Malcolm, just don't call me, okay? I'm busy right now.
That means I love you. All right, go ahead.
All right, so I just really like to thank Austin for his time. We put a lot of time into this presentation, and Austin has been really generous in coming with us, meeting with us this Sunday night. You had some great questions, and I signed up for the email list as well, so hopefully everybody does, and the tips and the material is great. And Austin, you have any parting comments?
I do not. Besides, thank y'all for, getting on here and listening to me. I hope that y'all learned a few things. I hope you saw some things that you can take with you, and tips and tricks and different things to help make your officiating career less painful, more enjoyable, obviously improve your performance as well. And, don't be afraid to reach out if there's something you need. I mean, like Carrie had, seconded, I'm pretty easy to get a hold of, and I'm really willing to help. This is very new still and very exciting for me. It's just a really, really cool thing, and officials have never been really catered to. And it's really cool to see how thankful officials are whenever they do get some help and pain relief, and just somebody that cares about them and thinks about them. So I'm trying to be that person. I'm trying to help all of you. So if you need anything, do not, hesitate to reach out.
Austin, it's really great that you've come and met with us. One of the great things about officiating is the people that we meet, especially the people who are willing to give their time and help us. Whether that was years ago when you all started and you learned where to buy your shirt from, or a well-fitting pair of shoes, or somebody that taught you mechanics, whatever it is. These are important tips, and like I said, it's something different, and we appreciate you giving your time to us tonight. So thanks so much.
Yeah, well, thank you all for having me.
And we're just going to briefly move on to, we have a few minutes left. As an observer, I've been getting a lot of feedback in regards to legal guarding position. And so we're going to take advantage of some of the slides that we have. Sherry Zappala is our interpreter for WICBU. Most of you probably know that. And she's going to review the first third of this. And because we definitely don't want to go past 9 o'clock. Sherry's going to put that into screen share view so that the slides look really big. And she basically knows this presentation by heart, but she wants you to see some of these slides that have the rules broken down, because the NCAA is looking for officials to get these calls correct. The more correct calls that you have, the better you will be, and the better chance you'll have of moving up and on, and that's all that we want for you with WICBU. So Sherry, you all set?
Yeah, I think I am. You
Okay,
can see that?
take your
Karen?
time. All right, everything looks great.
Okay, great. All right, guys. Hey, welcome back. Listen, I'm just going to go over contact on the ball, by the ball handler dribbler. Carrie and I did a presentation this fall at the IBO conference in October. So here we
Right, and
go.
Sherry, I'm going to let you know when we're getting close to 9 o'clock. Don't feel like you have to get through the whole presentation, okay?
Okay, I'm just going to go over the basic stuff. Here's a warm-up play. You may recognize one of our officials in here. Oh, wait a second. Did it not play? It's not playing, Carrie. Okay. That's not going to be good. All right, so I'm just going to go over legal guarding position, which is Rule 10.4, 4, 5, and 6. So what do we know about legal guarding position? To obtain legal guarding position on a player with the ball, we know that there's no time and distance necessary to get our body as a defender in front of the ball handler, with our both feet on the floor, our torso facing, and once we have that body facing, we know that we can move laterally, obliquely, backwards, but the only thing that we cannot do is move forward. We also need to be in position before that ball handler goes up for a shot. Now, a player without the ball, we know that time and distance is necessary. So we need to give them 1 to 2 strides when they do not have the ball. And same thing applies. We need to get our torso facing the ball handler dribbler. We have our both feet on the ground. All right. And once that is established, to maintain that legal guarding position, all right, we can move again obliquely, backwards, and sideways. We do not have to have our feet on the ground at all times, because we cannot move laterally, obliquely, or backwards with our feet continuously on the playing court. All right, we have to be able to pick up those feet to move. So that's not one of the things that has to stay in place. The other thing that can happen is that we can turn and absorb contact, all right, when the ball handler dribbler is coming at us. We don't have to be facing the ball handler dribbler to take contact right into the chest. All right, so these are just what these slides are saying. Again, the defender needs to be there before the offensive player goes up to either catch a ball when they're receiving it. Okay. And this is maintaining it. Okay. Sideways, obliquely, and backwards. You just can't move forward. Okay. All right. So that play did not work. So let's see if it starts here. I don't know why it's not playing, Karen. It's not playing.
It doesn't look like you have a play button.
Yeah, it doesn't. Sorry about that, you guys. Okay. Okay. Sorry. All right, let's talk about personal fouls. This is on 10, 5. We know that what's legal, not legal. So we know that you are not allowed to hack, hit, pull on their arms. You can't hold. Hand checking fouls. All right, this is 10, 5. We know that as a defender, when we call it D'ing up, when we want to get position on the ball handler dribble, we're allowed to touch that ball handler dribble one time with what we call a hot stick touch. Okay, that is it. Once we put another hand on that ball player, or two hands, or an arm bar, or if we keep hands on there as the ball handler dribbler is driving down the lane or just driving up the court, that is a foul. Okay, so it's an automatic foul. And these are just examples of that here. Okay, even if the ball handler gets behind you and you make contact with that dribbler from behind, that's called a push. Okay, that's illegal contact. Now in this, no, I can't see this play. Shoot. No, sorry about this, Carrie. This is not working the way I wanted it. Okay. All right. This isn't working. Sorry, Carrie. Do we have any questions about legal guarding position? Can we pull the clips up? Player control fouls. So once we maintain legal guarding position on the ball handler dribbler, right, as a defender, we have every right to that position on the floor. And we continue to have that right for that position on the floor. So the ball handler dribbler cannot run through me or over me. All right, they have to give me, I have that legal right to be on the floor. So these are just some pictures of a ball handler dribbler who is going what we call through a defender player, and that's illegal. All right, so they can't charge into an opponent. They can't use a forearm to push off on the defender. All right, that's an offensive foul. And this is just a defender. The offensive player got by once the head and shoulders get by the defender, all right, then the onus comes back onto the defender. So if contact occurs, then that is going to be a foul on the defender. And that's a blocking foul. Okay. And that's really about it because we don't have the video on this. Okay. That's all I got, Karen.
Well, go back 2 slides, Sherry. There was some good wrap-up points there.
Okay.
The other before this.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, so this previous play that we had was, it was making sure that we get the first foul. In this particular play, the dribbler one was dribbling up the court and was getting contacted by the defender multiple times. And the call wasn't, the official did not make the call. So what happens in this play is that because the foul wasn't called earlier in the play coming up the court, there was a lot of action in the lower post. And Rich, you'll remember this play. I'm trying to see if we can get the picture of it. This is the play where there becomes a lot of action in the high post or the low post, and the fouls aren't called on the guards. And then what happens is that the offensive player in the high post gets called for a foul, and then they yell and scream at the official, and then the official has to call a technical foul on that player because of her actions. And so what, to Carrie's point, is if we don't call the first foul, it leads to rough play anywhere on the court, and in this case into the post area. So we need to set the tone by ruling the first foul that happens in the play sequence. It's important for officials to understand and enforce the rules that pertain to players' freedom of movement on the court. And that's kind of what this was kind of all about. So setting the tone by making the first foul call, allow freedom of movement that is legal, all right? Rough play disputes the game and poses a risk for player safety. And we all need to study Rule 10.4 and 10.5.
Okay, thanks, Sherry. And I
Sorry
would
about that.
put that slide back, please, Sherry. I would
Yeah.
I would certainly think about trying to read through these rules. I know that we don't have a lot of time. It's tough to travel to games and things, but if you have 10 minutes, try to break these rules open, because you don't want to misapply a rule. It's just really important to try to stay in the book. You're already in mid-December, right? And a lot can happen. I saw a game the other night that really was a blowout game. The officials did fantastic. And in games like that, sometimes you get some mismatches at this time of the year. You can work on things, right? You can work on saying, well, am I finding legal guarding position? Does the defense have 2 feet on the floor facing their opponent initially? Okay, they just moved their feet, right? Is that legal? Yes. So if you know these rules, if you have them memorized inside and out, if you can imagine some of the pictures, that we show or watch video, be kind to yourself, because you do know these rules, but a lot of times we just don't take the time in a game to focus. So you can take these blowout games and just focus in a period. Hey, let me just focus on finding legal guarding position. Even if no contact occurs, you can find something to watch for in a game that you can learn from. All right, so I'm just going to take a moment for if anybody has any questions, because all of you who stayed on long enough. You certainly deserve to have any questions answered. We're not here to waste your time. So if you have anything you'd like to mention or ask, please do.
No questions. Okay.
Well, sometimes I do get questions on emails, and I totally understand that. We've gotten a lot of really good response with Ask the Interpreter. We're getting a lot of questions now, probably because the season started. Listen, no question is too small. We do enjoy discussing them as we receive the questions, and Dave Foodie has been giving us those 5-question quick quiz follow-ups, which I hope have been useful to you. Sometimes we read the question, we read the answer, we say, oh, I hope that never happens to me, or oh yeah, I got that right once, but we're doing it so that, you think about the scenario might happen to you one day, and then the quick quiz, might be something that you hadn't thought of, and hopefully in a pinch, the question will pop into your head in a game. In the email I was forwarded, you mentioned looking for new board members. Have you addressed this? Board members. So members of Megan, how are you? So WICBU is a women's college board, and we are chartered by IABO. It's relatively new, we're still fledgling. IABO generally, right? Most of you know that this is a national educating organization that mainly has high school officials. But Megan, I spent most of my entire career of 27 years refereeing women's college basketball and asking anyone that I knew, hey, would you like to ref college in some way, whether it's junior college, whether it's Division I. I've always just walked into gyms and say, hey, you could be a ref, you could be a ref, you could be a ref. And so I'm still doing it. I had the opportunity, Megan, to charter a board with IABO. It was something new that they were trying to open up to collegiate. Look, they were looking to get some members, and I had an organization in New York that was a high school base, but it was the rules base was NCAA women's, and so we got a board, and it's very exciting to be able to have something unique. I mean, we're here to educate, so we have rules classes. We have some member benefits like little WICBU Academy videos, these monthly meetings. We have an Ask the Interpreter link. And so are some people joining, out of the goodness of their heart? Yes, but they're learning. So what are the requirements? Our dues are $65, and that's it, right? So, but it's something that is a community of officials. A lot of people have stuck with us. This is our fourth year. So one of the things that's a little different about this board is that we don't meet in person. We meet each other when we can, wherever we are. And we're always happy to help anyone who's interested in working women's college basketball. Dave Fruity's on the call. He's our vice president. He's from Colorado. Sherry, you heard talking. She's our interpreter. We have Rich Feder. Rich is from New Jersey. Sherry's from Delaware. Rich is from New Jersey. Scott Perkins is on. He's from New Jersey. Chaz Loomis, upstate New York. We have a lot of members on the call tonight, and we're a community of officials that are just looking to help. And we do have relationships with NCAA women's leadership, and so we spread the word. I saw an official the other night last year on a high school game, and I snuck down and spoke to her after the game. Would you ever like to ref college? Looked at me like I was crazy. Well, I just went and observed her on Thursday night at a college game. I mean, she did great, right? She used all high school mechanics, but that was fine, so she's going to learn the NCAA mechanics, as time passes. She looked great. So that's what we're about, Megan. We're just, we kind of knocked down the doors a little bit and said, hey, can we get a women's board too? We matter too. And all these folks that are on the meeting with us, they come on monthly, and they're here to support us. So thanks for checking in with us. We appreciate it. And with that, look, it's 9:01. I never like to go over. And so I'm going to end the recording. And if anybody has anything else to say, I'll be on for a moment. But thank you again for your time, and stay safe. And